What is civilization? Our transition from hunter-gatherer nomads to settlers is a choice that was made. While the primary reason our ancestors did this remains elusive to us, what is known is the result. This decision has propelled us ever forward, from simple huts to large cities with massive buildings. The story of the human race is a complex, expansive tale filled with triumphs, defeat, violence, peace, abject horror, and hope. It is beautiful and inspirational, as it is ugly and bleak. Two sides of the same coin, our history has shaped us all. As we continue ever forward to the future in our present state of affairs, I endeavor to embark upon a journey to tell the tales of our ancestors and forefathers, the things that they built, the wars that they fought, what they believed, what they discovered, and individuals both well-known and unknown, whose actions shaped history, and in some cases the world in which we live in today. So join me on this journey as I share with you the stories of our past as a species. For what is history but a host of lessons that we may not only apply to our own lives, but to our society as a whole. We begin our story at the dawn of civilization, where humans began to transition from a strictly hunter-gatherer lifestyle of the Paleolithic era or Old Stone Age, to the beginnings of complex settlements and domestication of plants and animals, during the Neolithic era or New Stone Age of the 10th millennium. During this time, small settlements begin to emerge, as these early humans begin to settle in small communities. Within these communities, we see the first signs of early animal and plant domestication, and structures becoming more and more complex. These settlements would begin dotting the lands of the Levant and Anatolia. Jericho, one of the first settlements, soon would develop into a walled city that housed an estimated 3,000 inhabitants. Possibly the first religion in human history within Anatolia, the first human temple was built, called Göbekli Tepe. One of the first things we can gather from what remained in this temple is a ritualistic veneration of human skulls. Dubbed the cult of the skull by historians, there is little other than the skulls itself and carved stone that we can discern of any purpose. What did they believe? Who were their gods? Were these skulls of leaders or regular villagers? Alas, these questions we may never have an answer to. All we can do is put together the clues that our ancestors have left behind. At the end of the 9th millennium, going into the 8th millennium, the human population on Earth is now estimated to have exceeded 5 million. Assuming that at this time, the human population did not exceed 10 million, this would mean that comparatively, there were just as many humans on Earth, if not less, than the entire population of Greece today. Shifts in climate during this time would greatly change many biospheres on Earth. The northern ice sheets begin to melt as temperatures rise. This creates a chain reaction of natural events that cause our species to adapt to these changes. With the melting of the northern ice sheets, man found that their environment was warmer and over time the lands once covered in snow began to melt. An arid waste saw an increase in biodiversity, such as plants, animals, and rich soil, as water levels begin to rise in rivers. These changes would lead to what would be known by historians as the Agricultural Revolution. Now, before we discuss the transition to agriculture and living in settlements by early humans, let us first examine why this transition took place. Currently, there is no one consensus on the reason. Some experts suggest that it was a natural progression. Although, while farming gives you the ability to have a food surplus, does that make it better? Raising crops is indeed safer than having most of the men leave the tribe to go hunt game, where their prey could fight back or where predators may be lurking around the corner to steal a fresh kill. However, one might point out that while hunting during this time could be dangerous, it required far less energy than farming. We would also do well to remember that this was before the inventions of many different farming tools, and while domestication of animals was taking place, it was in its early stages. Another theory presented by historians is population pressure. As the number of people in your tribe grows, you must depend more and more on hunting game and foraging edible plants. These sources of food are not easily sustainable, as they cannot be controlled completely. Edible plants like fruits can stop growing for numerous of reasons, or not be growing enough to sustain your growing population, and animal herds can simply migrate or die off. While hunter-gatherers do live a nomadic lifestyle, so moving with their herd is not unusual, one might imagine that as the number of people grow in your tribe, it makes constantly moving more and more difficult. With the pressure of high population, one could assume that these early humans looked for ways to secure a comfortable and abundant food source, which would eventually lead to agriculture and animal domestication. Whatever the reason, a decision was made, and this would lead to irreversible changes. A surplus in food allows for a growth in population. Farming, while difficult, requires less people to manage as farming tools are developed and animals begin to be used to increase farming production. Animal domestication provides a constant source of fur, leather, and most importantly, food. This leads to other humans in the settlement to be free to pursue other things, such as craftsmanship, trades, cultural development. This decision, this revolution, would lead to settlements that would develop into complex societies. The 7th to 5th millennium would be one of progress and advancement for our ancestors. Our settlements would become walled cities with complex and fascinating cultures. As technology began to improve, these cities in turn would become kingdoms and empires. However, one must remember that with the advent of these large settlements, our cities came a ravenous desire to expand. Now, raiding other tribes for resources was nothing new for our species, but the population boom and the establishment of settled societies would create something entirely new, something more than just simple raiding. War and conquest would forge these cities and settlements into kingdoms and great empires. The days of the new Stone Age was coming to an end. Humanity would now enter the Bronze Age. Thank you for viewing this episode, and if you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to be up to date with all new episodes.